We recall that in one of your TED Talk, you speak about the concept of selective vulnerability and how it is the key to bringing our authentic selves to work. So on one hand, we're emotional beings and it is important to not put them aside and to acknowledge them and embrace them. But at the same time, striking the balance between where you make your colleagues feel a bit uneasy. So would love for you to unpack this meaning of selective vulnerability and share with us in more actionable and tangible ways about how this can be put into practice.
Yeah. So everything that I say, it's definitely not an invitation to become a feelings fire hose where you're having a bad day and you walk into the office and say, I'm an emotional creature. I hate you all. Don't talk to me. Right. That's not useful. You're not being a nice colleague there. So there's definitely a limit to sharing emotions at work. And so selective vulnerability applies to everyone, but especially if you are in a leadership position. So one of your jobs as a leader is to provide stability for the team, to make people feel confident in your ability to lead them through challenging times, to set clear milestones. And those are actually all things that are also key to making people feel good at work. If I don't know what I'm supposed to work on, I'm going to feel terrible because I'm just spinning my wheels without a clear goal in sight. So, selective vulnerability, the formula for that is really pairing a moment of openness with a path forward. And that moment of openness, again, you have to walk this line between sharing, which builds trust, and oversharing, which destroys it. So, let's say in the case of you just lost a really big customer. If you're a leader coming into that meeting and saying something like, this is really hard and we have a lot to learn from this, I want to acknowledge that this wasn't great. And if you have concerns, let's talk about those now. So that's kind of this middle ground. You're not ignoring it. You're not saying that everything is fine, don't worry at all. But you're also not coming into the meeting in tears saying, like, I couldn't sleep last night. What are we going to do? Right. Like, that's very destabilizing. Your team will get extremely anxious. So it's just acknowledging the emotions, talking about them without getting very emotional, and then shifting to this path forward. So this is a hard situation. I'm feeling it too. I just want to acknowledge that. Here's what I'm going to do over the next 3 months to make sure this doesn't happen again. Here's what I need from you. So again, you are having this emotional moment, showing that you're human, earning people's trust, and then earning it further still by saying, I've also thought about how to improve the situation. Here's our plan. Here's how we're going to move forward as a team. So there's many examples of this. I'll give one more tip, which is one of the people I interviewed for No Hard Feelings was Kim Scott. She wrote a book called Radical Candor. She's a manager at Google for many years. And she always thought that she was a cool and collected manager until one of her reports came up to her and said, the team knows what kind of day we're going to have by your mood when you walk in the door. And she was just like, oh, okay. I have not been this totally collected person that I thought I was. So what she started doing is flagging her feelings. And she didn't go into details, but if she had a bad morning or had a bad day, which is going to happen, she would just say, it's been a morning. I just want to flag that it has nothing to do with you. Or if she entered a meeting at 4 p.m. and had been running around all day, she'd be like, I've been in back-to-back meetings. If I seem a little distracted, I'm sorry. I want to be present. It has nothing to do with you. So again, she wasn't oversharing. She wasn't crying, but she was saying like, today I'm flagging that there might be something that seems off about me, but you don't need to worry. I don't want to contribute to your anxiety.
These are such great actionable tips, Liz. I think in many countries, we're still doing a lot of hybrid, mostly virtual interactions. So I think in these interactions, a lot of the nuances of flagging feelings and being able to read someone else's emotions, it could sometimes get lost in translation. So I'm wondering if there are any additional tips that you could offer, especially for these interactions that happen virtually nowadays when it comes to selective vulnerability and how we can put this into action.
Yeah, so it's definitely harder and takes more intention. So for context, I'm in a corner of my living room. This has been my office for 2.5 years. So I've also been dealing with the, virtual, trying to figure out what's going on with people. It requires more intentionality around your actions and then also creating space to check in with people. So in an office, normally, especially if you're a leader, you can walk around and kind of get a sense of that person seems distracted, or I'm in the kitchen and in my interaction, this person seemed really upset about something. I should check in with them. You just don't have those opportunities. So in team meetings, I've seen leaders doing like team check-ins where they'll say, we're going to start this off with red, yellow, green. Green is I'm good. Yellow is I'm feeling a little at capacity. It's a stressful week. And red is there's something really big going on I need to share with the team. So it's creating the space and giving people really simple shared language. So it's easy for them to flag what's going on. In one-on-ones, starting with like, how are you? What can I do to support you? Is anything unclear? Having very specific questions so that people, again, can feel safer sharing in those situations.